Hello there, and welcome to What the Fuck with Dr. Mike and Marty, or politically correct WTF Dr. Mike and Marty. I'm Dr. Mike, and my partner Marty is sitting over there, hiding behind the cameras for some reason.
Well, it could be because there's only 2 camera inputs. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I have to go to Best Buy and steal another one.
And
Just write
actually-
down the brand.
And actually, it's weird things from Dr. Mike and Marty. WTF,
Oh,
weird
really?
things from.
Boy, I feel kind of stupid now.
But, tomato, tomato, I've heard it both
What's my
ways.
boundaries, I just go to the best thing that sounds to me. So many people will be like, what the fuck? But anyway, sorry about that. I'll try to remember otherwise. Our guest tonight is Kara and Mark, and she is a eclectic witch, or what's also known as a gray witch. And so we're going to be talking about, some of the arcane arts and magic and, Daryl, I guess part of the devil. I don't even know if that has anything to do with it or not, per se. And some tarot cards, which if she reads it for me and it shows death, I'm leaving. I'm just getting up and walking out, okay? So go ahead and introduce yourselves again and tell us what it's all about. What do you practice? Why do you practice it?
Okay, well, we are Mark and Kara, and basically, I got back into witchcraft. I was into witchcraft when I was 21, and then I became a Christian, and over the last 6 months or so, I've been realizing that I need to go, that this is what I identify with, that because I've been going through a lot of difficult things at this point in life, and so basically I needed to find peace again and to be able to just connect with something. And so I found that I really have a strong connection with nature, and when I go outside, I make it a point every evening to go out to my deck and just spend time with the goddess, and that's where I connect, and the elements, fire, earth, air, water. And so I just have a divine connection with that, and I also do certain types of spell work, and it just kind of depends on my day and what I'm led to do.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of get into that, with the nature and everything, except I do mine a little different. I usually go up off I-25 over in the really nice lawn, where they just mowed, and I lay naked. And I just take in all that I can, and I do it till the troopers come along and say, no, you gotta go. And it's happened so much, they know me by name, So, yeah, connecting with nature. Now, this is a really dumb question, but in the old days between white witch and black witch, or witchcraft or black magic and the gray, usually if they said, and usually it was a lie, but if they accused somebody of black magic, they burned them at the stake while they were alive. Yeah. If they were white magic, they'd give an opportunity with the church to make their way. A gray witch, what do they do? Just like burn your toes and say, okay, don't do it anymore?
Well, it's a balance between positive and negative. It's about the
Okay.
energy that, is in your life. And, basically there's a balance. I mean, because I guess most people's assumption when they think about witches is like the Halloween witch with the black hat and the green skin and, cackling over the cauldron. But basically, it's more about a mind connection and energy, and it's a balance of energy.
Did you know that Albert Einstein, one of the greatest physicists in the world, in history, actually talked about that? And it was, he called it, and you Google it, I tell everybody, Google it, whatever. He talked about spooky action at a distance, which was kind of like talking about the magic and stuff. He said, because if you can make your mind become the same vibration, the same energy as what you desire, it will happen. Mm-hmm. Of course, I've been trying that for a while, but I can't seem to get my mind in vibe with anything,
Because it's true, there are vibrations depending on, you know, where you are and what you're connecting with crystals, with herbs, with, you know, the tools that a witch uses in day-to-day life. I mean, there are vibrations. There are basically, when you're doing a spell or something, you have to make sure your mind is in the right place and you have to feel the connection. Because if there's no connection, there's not going to be really anything, I don't believe, that happens.
Yeah.
It's-
Like
it's-
the cause and effect thing reversed,
Yeah.
you know, effect then cause.
It's
You know, it's
interesting.
similar to like prayer. I mean, when you're praying, and I have experience with this, I led a prayer ministry. So you have to connect.
Oh, wait a minute.
If
You
you're-
said you led a prayer ministry?
Yes, I did.
Was that in like a Christian church, or was it in your current?
It was in a large church in the state, yeah. So,
Didn't work so well for you, huh?
no, no.
Okay, I understand that. So what exactly do you do? I mean, I see tarot cards there, and you just were talking about herbs, and you were talking about energy exchange type stuff. What is it that you actually do as a gray witch? Because you're not taking either side. You're taking what is appropriate that you feel for you, which is interesting.
The balance. I mean, it's like, okay, you dabble in the different types of magic. It's like one thing you do, you know, like say, for example, I think every witch talks about this, is doing the protection over your home.
Right.
And it's bringing that positive energy in. And it's like you can do things like make a floor wash, and you wash the energies out as you're doing it. But it has to do with the intention. Intention is key. It's like nowadays you can go on YouTube and find every type of spell that you want to do.
That's true.
But the key isn't having 16 different types of herbs and this special oil, although you can do spells that way. But really, if you have, as is taught in hoodoo witchcraft, or even the voodoo witchcraft, you just need olive oil and you need your intention to make something happen. You know, and it's kind of like, you know, the balance that I have with my life. You can have some really negative things happen in your life. And what I was taught in the church was that you hold it in and you've got to forgive that person, you've got to do it. And somehow that energy stays in you. And it's really hard to work through it. And people will tell you it is really hard to work through that. Now it's like if there's something negative, I can release it in a spell and it's done. You know, and it is different. I can say that because I've been in both camps.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, it's just that balance in my life. You know, say you want to bring more positivity in, or you're feeling that your life is kind of off kilter. I mean, everybody has that. Everybody deals with that. And so we have to find a connection and find what it is that brings peace. And for me, that's connecting with the elements and the goddess. And there's, you know, there's many gods and goddesses that I believe that there's more than one, you know, and...
So basically, the structure of belief is a polytheistic
right.
type of approach, not
Right.
a monotheistic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so, you know, like I was talking to Mark the other day, talking about, okay, whether you be a Christian or a Buddhist or a witch or a Satanist or whatever you are, you're connecting with something. And that something is what's giving your life the hope and helping you to move forward. And, you know, I believe that everyone individually has to find what it is they connect with.
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned Buddhism, and I really have, I shouldn't say studied in depth, but I've read a lot on Buddhism and all that, and I love how they think. And, you know, you look at most of them, it looks like either they're really deep in meditation or they really got some good shatter and smoked it, you know, because they're just laid back. And the answer they usually give is there is no evil, there is no good, there just is.
Right.
Because it is.
Right.
And how we deal with that and how we react to that is what makes it good or bad or evil or holy. And you were talking about doing a wash on the floor to give it. Jesus, I'd probably have to use a flamethrower. I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah.
So,
I think we all.
so I mean, yeah, I'm thinking, oh, wash? No, needs to be a flamethrower. That's what it needs. So, besides that, what have you done that you've seen come to fruition? Now, I'm not talking like summoning the devil or something like that. You know, I think you would be a different person if you did that. But what have you done that you've seen happen, come to fruition?
Well, I know that Mark has really noticed in me, and he said that he sees me being more at peace and just calmer, and because like you have to understand, like I said, I'm in this point in my life where things are, it's really chaotic. It's really, there's horrible things coming at me and things happening within my family. And like I had said before, the Christian path that I was following just wasn't, I wasn't able, I don't know how to really explain it, but in what I do now, just taking, it's almost like you would call it like meditation every evening, you know, where I meditate with the goddess and I connect with the moon, and I've been studying the different types of witchcraft. Like, I mean, you could sign up for one camp and be Wiccan, which is a religion, or you could be, you know, a lunar witch, which follows the moon, or you could be a white witch or a black witch, or, you know, and so basically I pull from all of these different practices and bring into my daily life what works for me.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me play the devil's advocate here, okay?
Okay.
You said all this negative, nasty stuff from other people are coming towards you. Is that possibly because you stopped going to a Christian church, or the energy is like way off, or they're doing something stronger than you? I mean, there's different ways of looking at that. Or are they just assholes?
Pretty much just assholes.
Well,
wouldn't you say?
okay, that pretty much that
Yeah.
asshole magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I understand that for reals.
There's a lot to do with it. There really was when she was going through the Christian churches and stuff, and what they've done because of her past, and what they've said to her, and what they've done to her because of it, and the way she would not ever fit in because of it. And she had a natural gift for prayer.
I had to fight my way up in leadership, one, because I was a woman, and second, because of my background. I had a banner tacked over my head, and they beat that out of me in the end, and I've never seen such evil people in my entire life.
Well, they don't sound very
within the
Christian at all.
church.
No, that's the truth.
Well, and that's the reality of Christianity. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always picked on there, and I did have a natural gift, but there was just so much of a fight every day it was like all consuming, you know, and like I'd much rather be at a place where there's peace every day. I mean, there's still the shit coming at me,
Yeah.
but in the midst of it, I can just have peace in being who I am, you know?
Well, I understand, and that's a good kind of a segue, because I was talking to you guys outside, and Marty knows pretty much everything about me. And I went to a church. It was a grief group. My wife, Gwen, passed away from brain cancer September 13th, not quite a year ago. And so a couple of friends, oh, yeah, they have a great program for grief. So I went there, and they were like, oh, God wanted her. I said, no, wait a minute. She suffered for 5 years of brain cancer, partial paralysis and total paralysis. I said, if God wanted somebody, wouldn't he just like, poof, gone, instead of making them suffer? Well, there's a reason for it. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? And I used those words.
Yeah.
You know, I said, you're full of shit. And everybody's like, oh, you can't talk like that in church. I said, why? Because God won't like me because of who and what I am? Or because I don't have boundaries, like Marty has multiple conversations with me about? And one woman looked and said, I like you. You speak what's in your heart. You speak what's in your mind. And everyone else was flabbergasted how we used those words. And she was like, that's what you feel. That's what this group is for.
Right.
So you can, if that's what you're feeling, then do it. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, no, you can't say it. And I was like, oh, fuck this,
Yeah.
And the first time I went, I left.
And you know what, in the church, the senior pastor there, I worked directly with him, and he would send to me the people who were the rejects, the prostitutes and the homeless moms, and the people he would say, I don't want to deal with them. Those people are still my friend today. They're all my friends, and those were good people, and they were the people that I believe if you're going to walk out the Bible and follow what it says, you need to follow. Like I said to him when they came to me, and they in that last session where they all came in and came after me, they were using my past, which I wasn't even practicing that at that point. But I said to him, do you not believe that Jesus' blood washes away your sins? Do you not believe that? And so, like as I said, I've walked through this point in time where I have to question everything because it's a very difficult time. And I have to question what is it that calls to me? What is it that I can do that can give me sanity in the moments of insanity?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Usually when I'm in a mood, like that, I usually wind up talking to Marty for 3 or 4 hours because he is truly, in my opinion, a sage, a philosopher, and Dr. King also. That's my 2 points of reference, and it can calm me down. I was so pissed at homeless people jumping up on my car on corners, give me this, give me that. I should just run them down. I was really angry. And Marty talked to me 3 hours, and at the end of that, I was like, you're right. That's, I need to cool it. And so I think we all have to have an output and an input, and my choice is Marty and Dr. King. Sometimes my younger brother, but he's gone so much. Mm-hmm. But what are you going to do with the tarot cards tonight? Anything?
Well, I did bring them. I can do a reading. The reading style that I do takes a little time, but I can also do a quick reading, of whatever it is. But I like to kind of lay out the story. It's called the story layout, and it kind of talks about so people can connect. It's I use it for myself and Mark only right at this point in time. It tells your story. You're the hero or heroine in the story, and it comes to the end of the story, and there has to be a specific question.
Okay.
Not a general, because a general question, yeah, you could do one, but usually everyone that has a general question, there's a deeper question.
Oh, yeah.
And usually
absolutely.
that comes out when you do the reading. And like I was saying to Mark when we were talking about this, I said, I'm not an expert at it. I've just studied what I've learned I've been doing a lot of reading lately, and we did 2 decks last night and today.
Right.
I got this new deck that I didn't really connect with or like, and it's so funny because he asked the same question. He said, let's do it over again with this deck. Well, the answers were pretty much the same.
It was exactly the
Serious?
same. Yeah.
And I didn't remember that because I didn't connect with the other one, but
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, it's telling me the same thing.
Well, what if I ask you, I don't know how long it would take you, but if you could do a tarot reading on me or on our show,
Yeah,
do you think you could do that?
I could. I have to divide up my deck because what I'm
Okay.
going to do is what's called the minor arcana is basically, it's like a deck of cards. So basically if you have the ace through the 10, and then you have your court cards, which is like the king, prince, and in my deck is the princess and the queen. And then you have the other cards, which are the major arcana, which are basically like the one-word cards, you'll see them in the deck. Now, and I know you mentioned earlier something about the death card. That card used to freak me out when I first read tarot cards. but actually it means a transition. It's not as scary as it seems, and so when that pops up, I'm like,
You mean transition like a
It's-
sex change?
no,
It just popped in my head. I'm sorry.
but no.
No offense.
Well,
okay?
it could mean that, you know. I mean,
That
but,
would be interesting.
it means a
Going from
transition
an innie
in
to
life.
an outie, or an outie to
Right,
an innie.
right. Yeah, I mean,
Let's go fishing. You know what? You think I should put that on for the camera?
Oh, no, no, that's wrong.
The same thing. My foster son Ron wrote me back and he said, "Dude, that is so very wrong." A couple other people were like, "Bad, Dr. Mike, bad, bad," and a couple other people was like, "Well, did he keep the fish? Did he eat it?" And I was like, "Well, you're sicker than I am." You know. So yeah, I have to send it to you tonight, man. I thought I did.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Don't show it to your wife though.
No, don't open it. Trust me.
No, you
can't
can open
unsee
it.
You can't
I'll be
unsee it.
forever
You
scarred.
can't unsee it. That's true. But it's not a horrible thing. It's just a guy who's misguided on how to fish.
That's funny. Yeah, dude.
I'll probably send it while she's doing this. Okay,
And then
looks
I
like we're
have, like
ready.
I said, I have my little instructions sheet here. I take notes on everything, so so that can help me. Like I said, I'm not like an expert at this, but I can go with the feeling and go through it. And there's a total of 14 cards in this reading.
Okay.
And so
Will it tell me if
basically-
I'm going to get raped by hillbillies? I mean, I need to know these things. These are important.
You'll get the death card for sure.
oh, I'm gonna laugh if that comes up.
Oh, yeah, well, if that comes up, I'm out the door. You guys can just talk to Marty.
The answer is yes and yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm kind of nervous now.
And I put that
Okay,
energy
so-
out into the universe.
So as I'm going to shuffle these, as I talked about intention earlier. So when you have a question, unfortunately this deck is huge, so I can't
it is.
like shuffle it like a normal card. So I'll take each separate portion. I have the court cards, and then I have the minor and the major arcana here.
Okay.
So basically, I want to know what your question is, and then I'm going to shuffle that intention into each of these.
Okay. Marty and I started the show, and there's a lot of things we want to do. So, what do you see us in the future and the show in the future, basically? You know, because we have a lot of people who ask about it and so forth. And Marty, very wisely, has not had a permanent studio yet because we get to different places. You know, Gypsy Java and a few other things. And so, just what's the outlook?
Where is this going?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good question.
If there's anything weird you come up with, go ahead and say that too.
Yeah, what I'm
'Cause it
going to do
probably
is I'm
applies to
going
me.
to pull the cards. It's not going to be this suspenseful thing. I'm going to pull them and put them all face up so I can look at it and see what the story is. And then we'll kind of go through the cards individually. So I'm going to do the first. And the king card stands for creativity. So that's interesting. That's the card that represents you.
Creative or just boundaryless?
Making things
Cool.
happen. Okay. So the next card is going to be a minor card. And so, let's go with this one. Okay, and then, let's see.
Kind of looks like me having sex with a
And I'm already out of, let's see. Let's see, we're going to put that right there. Ego.
Oh my God, this is.
Okay, and
You asked
then,
for it.
Yes.
okay, and then the next is going to be the court card. Oh, it's that one. Okay, another king. There's two kings involved in this. Okay. And then we're going to do a minor, which is already sticking out right there. Okay. And then we're gonna look at the next three. Just gonna
It's interesting. Do you feel an energy from the
Mhm.
cards that you draw?
Yeah, because it's like one will speak to you.
Okay.
It's the only way I can describe it.
Okay.
Okay, so a major is gonna be. Okay. Deal.
That was a spring getting hit by a card. It wasn't a banjo. No.
The banjo's not playing yet.
Oh yeah.
Yet.
That's you sure got a pretty mouth.
Okay.
I'm looking at him, but I have no idea what they mean.
She'll explain.
Okay. And she's been experimenting on you with this, right? On this new deck?
A bit, actually, yeah. Well, this deck in particular, she has a really good connection with. The other
Oh,
deck,
okay.
not so much.
Oh.
But we did get the same effect.
Yeah.
The same answer. Two different decks. But this deck.
Okay,
touch
so let me look over.
Well, while you're doing that, Marty's heard this story 1,000 times, but had a friend named Walter, and he used to practice Enochian magic. He's a satanic priest. And until the day I depart this planet, I will always remember and talk about, he put a pentagram on the floor, huge pentagram, and he summoned a demon. And the whole room was charged. The fire department, police department came, and there were 8 other people in the room that he didn't like. He invited them, and they were all like on the floor gagging and all this stuff, and it scared the hell out of me. And so a week later, so I was like, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Well, vengeance." I said, "But you summoned a creature that I physically saw in your basement." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What makes you sure it's gone?" He goes, "Doesn't matter. I master it." And I was thinking, no, I don't think so. If you summon something like that, you're mortal. You're not going to master it. You know, it's going to do whatever it wants to do. So I asked it about my lotto, and I didn't win. So I was very disappointed. You know, I'm like, okay, I know you're a devil, but can you look at my lotto cards and pick some out for me? You know, they don't seem to take that, like, seriously.
It's too vague of a question.
Just pick some numbers, dude, and make the little machine throw them out, you know?
So, do you even play Lotto?
Yeah, I got a bunch of them.
Okay, just check it.
Yeah, I do.
Because I hope it's not like one of those things,
What?
you know, where, you know, there's a joke where the guy prays every night and he says, "God, oh God, please let me win Lotto. God, please let me win Lotto." And he prays every night. And then he, you know, and then he's wondering why he doesn't win. So he's been doing this for like 10 years. 10 years, prays every night. "God, let me win Lotto. God, let me win Lotto." So after 10 years, finally, the sky parts, you know, and God comes down and he says, "Buy a freaking ticket."
Dude, that was good. I like that. I might have water drizzling out my nose in a minute, but
Good time.
thank you. Thank you. That was
Well, I just
excellent
want to
input.
make sure.
Oh, absolutely, it's good input. Okay.
So,
Okay.
so here's what I see here. It's interesting because I believe that it talks about this first card represents you, and it's interesting because it says innovative, inspiring, wise, and theatrical. Does that? And it basically says, you know, as far as relating to this situation, that your leadership skills are needed now, and you're going to have an unexpected supporter of your cause. So in the midst of this, and your question being about the show,
Make it Netflix. That'll work.
yeah, maybe you'll get what is it, monetized on
Yeah.
your channel, right? That's the talk nowadays. And then your mentor, which I believe this is you,
Marty.
it says you're knowledgeable, experienced, fair-minded, and unemotional. It says you get basically you're objective. You have skills in public speaking, and kind of like I see the relation of the two here. It's kind of like you're the light. You got the light on your head, and you're standing here in the midst of this situation. And this guy, it's like there's a little. It's kind of like he's sitting in the background, but he's got the white beard and he's experienced. And this is the younger guy here. So it's kind of like they go together well. They're very different, but they do go together. And I see in the midst of this, what I have here is what is it that changes your life? And at this point in time, it's kind of like the illusion, and it says illusion of being trapped, getting caught up in fear and worry. So it's basically, those are things that could hold you back from doing what it is that you're doing right now. And so I think you just have to let go of that. You have to move forward
Okay.
and say, let's leave that behind. Let's not doubt.
Sounds like many conversations we've actually
Yes.
had.
And it
Yes.
says, what's the
Yes.
nature of your refusal to go on the journey? And see, that's kind of the thing, not seeing things clearly. Like, is this going somewhere? Is it not? Are those not things like, you know, she's on the ice here and she's kind of looks like she's slipping and her legs going out to one side. And it's kind of that place where you're like, am I going to be stuck in this place? Do I move forward? Am I, you know, and you're just kind of there. But you can move past that. That's my point here. You can move past that, you know, and then
Wow.
don't be deterred by challenges along the way. It's important to communicate clearly and accurately. Amazing new ideas should be implemented.
Mesa Verde.
You know, and so it says what this is kind of a place too where you come to this point in the story where this is your first threshold. And I think you can kind of see this guy here. At first I thought he was holding a fishing rod the first time I saw this card, but it's actually a light, you know, and the light is kind of, you know, he's standing in the boat and he has balance here, and it's kind of like, can you make it forward? Can you move forward in that place? And I think the light is showing the way, you know, and that's what it says here on the card. Positive changes are on their way. So it's like a welcome relief from troubled times.
Wow.
So
You know, I'm slowly starting to build up this fear of you because everything you have said is, like Marty just said, we've talked about many times, is pretty fucking accurate. I'm talking about right down to everything you've said so far. So if I start moving slowly away from you, don't take it personal, okay?
And then here we are with the moon card. You know, this is kind of this could be a test or an ally or an enemy. So this basically, I think it's showing you again, letting go. It says right here on the card, letting go of worry and fear. And that goes back to the card up here where it talks about, right here, it says fear and worry on the ego card as well. So it's letting go of that, moving forward. And then the next, it says being happily and successfully self-employed.
Wow.
I like it. Oh, and so far it's very good, but it's kind of scary too. It's like you're reading into my head or something.
You know, and then we go into where, okay, it says this card, what it represents is basically where you're moving from there. And it's interesting because it's a unity card. So basically what you can encounter, I think, is maybe I think what this is saying is just coming into unity, being of one mind and moving into the project and the.
So we pretty much do, I ask
So,
Marty about everything.
I think that's key, and it's kind of like, I think there's an opportunity where you could be out of unity, but I think as long as you're in unity, it's going to move forward. And then this is this brings you back to who you are in the situation and what has brought you to this place. And it says, trust that there's a reason for everything that happens.
Oh, wow.
Here he goes. Remove yourself from the negative emotions of others, focusing on that which frightens or worries you. So I think it's that fear and worry again coming in. And you've got to focus on that and say, what is it that causes this in relation to this situation as a whole? And kind of questioning that and spending some time on that.
This is awfully spooky. And
Yeah,
this is everything that you've mentioned so far is seriously a conversation that we've had just recently.
Yeah, it's
I was telling her she's got a connection with this deck.
And then,
wow.
okay, so what is it that can transform you? And it's funny because I drew more cards here, but I feel like those two, I don't know, so I'm just going to go with it. So basically, your desire for a more meaningful life and realizing that it's time to move on, choosing to make major life changes. That is what basically can transform you or resurrect you from the place that you have been.
Mhm.
And then the final card, which is where the hero returns to home. This is the story. It's the dreamer, and it's embracing your true purpose, beginning a new adventure, trusting yourself. Trust. So it's the trust instead of the fear or worry. And I mean, it's like the dreamer looks like she has lots of places to go, and she looks really positive and, got birds flying around her and, and it's like a new place. Don't we all wish we could be at the place of the dreamer?
Well, when we did just the radio after dark with Dr. Mike and prior to that Insights with Dr. Michael Coots, it was, in the Springs is where I did these shows at initially. Had hundreds of thousands of listeners. Then we came to Pueblo and did it in Pueblo for 3 years. And the thing they called the footprint of where it reaches and all that for my showtime was it actually made the general manager of the radio station angry. He said he'd been doing radio for 30 years and he's never had as many write-ups in newspapers, magazines, or something like that ever. Mm-hmm. And he kind of turned against me, but he said, I don't want you to go because you're actually keeping the station alive in the evenings. And I did it 7 nights a week, and we had a great time. And now with Marty, who knows more than that whole fucking bunch knew, it's actually, I feel that it's happening. And we've come up with some good ideas and good supporters and all that. And honestly, we're not just saying, say something good to appease her. No. Everything you've said in time, space, and continuum as it is are truly conversations we have had over the last month or so. And it is definitely weird. Definitely weird.
Yeah, you definitely are. Whatever this process was that you've been going through is obviously part of your transition as well.
Oh, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
It's kind of like, at first you're this caterpillar and you just don't feel right where you're at. And you're moving around and you're going, you know what? I don't feel like a damn caterpillar. What's going on? So finally this event happens that causes you to go into this cocoon. But then you emerge and then you are who you're supposed to be.
Right.
Not only that, she's much more powerful than she ever was before. And, by going through these experiences, and we've talked about this before,
Yeah.
the past 20 years, where she was actually part of a church and part of these prayer teams and everything else. I think that's what really made her stronger when she came back to this.
Well, not only that, it also gives you a perspective
Mm-hmm.
of not just the world, but who you are as well, and what sings to you and what
Mhm.
doesn't.
Right, right. You know, because it's like my mom always called me when I was younger. She said, "You're more of a gypsy soul," she would say to me.
Yeah, I can believe
And
that.
that really resonates with me now, because I'm like, yeah, because, and it's not that I look down on anyone that is a Christian or follows God or believes in God, and if that's what gives their life, go for it, you know. But for me, it's like when I was there in the church, I felt like I was put in a box, and I was supposed to be a cookie cutter of what everybody else is, and I just wasn't the cookie. You know, I wasn't, there was something about me that was more, you know, I think that's even why, like this deck, I'm drawn to the fairy deck, and it's funny because butterflies have a special meaning to me.
Well,
And it's like, to me, when you go, like, I've been to this museum where there's butterflies, and it feels, when you see all those butterflies and all the colors, it's like magical. It really is. It's like this moment where you feel like a child and you're in the midst of the butterflies. And that's kind of how I feel here. I feel at peace. I feel at peace doing what I'm doing and living the life I'm living right now. And, you know, it just, you know, really, I don't know, it's just that this lifestyle and what I believe in resonates with me more than where I was before this. You know?
I can make a statement, and I'm sure it's going to get shit from some people, but the practice of the Norse magic, of Wiccan magic, of Celtic magic, the Druids, I know some people are going to be real pissed off about this, but didn't they exist and practice long before the Judeo-Christian ideology came along? You take a look at Samaria, you take a look at Babylonia, which was around long for the Jewish nation, if you will, and Christianity, and they have the exact same stories in the Bible, and they talk about magicians who could go from one building to another in the air and change things, and Jesus changed water into wine, made loaves and fish and to feed thousands. You know, I'm sorry, don't call me a brainwashed or anything, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of a magic.
Well, yeah,
You know,
you think
and the
about
church will tell you, no. Then how do you do it?
Right.
You know, did he have it like buried under a cart or something? You know, and so yeah, there's a lot of things that open the mind. But in my situation, every time I want to discuss it with certain religious people, they tell me it's of Satan, the dinosaurs never existed, the earth is less than 6,000 years old, and all this. I said, all the universe, and all the planets, and all the moons, and all the suns, we're the only living creatures that made it in this entire endless universe? And that's pretty fucking arrogant,
Yeah.
you know? And if we were that smart, that we were the only ones, I think we'd be treating each other a hell of a lot nicer. You know, gangs, wars, terrorists, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I think we'd be much more of an advanced race. So I think we're one of the skip-alongs that came after the more advanced races. And if you really want to get technical about it and you want to throw in some religion, what did they ask Jesus when he was ascending into heaven? They said, you know, Father, can't you stay? Can't you teach? And he goes, there are other places not of here which I must go. What was he talking about? Was he talking about Mars? Was he talking about a different galaxy? Was he talking about this or that? You know, if you're
Maybe
And
even
what-
other universes.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
what does
yeah.
it mean when he
Yeah.
says, you know, the spiritual realms? What does that mean?
you know,
You know, and there's not really a, you know, these are things that you have to ponder and say, what is that? What does this mean?
well, my big thing is like, and I'm sure Marty's heard this way too many times, but you know, what happened to everybody that was here before the Judeo-Christian complex became the religion of Rome and the Holy Roman Catholic Church, and then into Lutheranism and Protestant? You know, what happened to those people that lived and died? Did they all go to hell? And I've had people say, yeah, I was like, what a waste. That's a waste, man. You know, and so I don't know. There's two things I've learned outside of my little inner circle not to discuss is religion and politics, because I have physically been struck over both of those conversations by somebody who was much more of a fanatic than I ever will be. And you talk about ancient aliens, NASA alone, and stuff that you showed, Mark, has more than enough proof to say there are other creatures, other beings, other entities, other intelligence. But no, can't talk about that. Can't talk about that stuff.
It's not real.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's bullshit. It's all of Satan. I think Satan's pretty damn busy. At least he could do is stop and give me a fucking lotto ticket that wins. You know? And I'll build a gathering coffee shop to Satan's Coffee. You know, they'll dedicate it, you know? But people, they just go crazy. You know, they absolutely go crazy. And so I really appreciate you coming and showing and sharing. And I would look at it as teaching what you do and how you do it. And honestly, once again, I have to say that your reading here has been, I don't know what word to use, has been exceptionally accurate. I think that would work. And especially with the two kings and the differences between them. The first one, what you said, pretty much describes me. The second one, wisdom and putting it together and making it happen, is Marty. I mean, I've had tarot readings before, but I've never had two kings ever until today. And the whole thing's weird to me.
And the card that really stands out to me, what I'll usually do at the end is I'll kind of focus. And the card that's standing out for me here is this card that says, trust that there's a reason for everything that happens. Remove yourself from the negative emotions of others. Focus on that which frightens or worries you. So I think this is a key card in this reading, and it's kind of thinking about those things. What is it that's holding you back? What is it that you've been worrying about or fearful about? Because what I see is there's a lot of positivity in this, and you know, when you end with the dreamer, it means you can make out of this situation whatever it is that you dream about. So you got to look at what's holding you back and move forward from that. I mean, we all have those things in life that can hold us back. But yeah, that's what I see.
That's very interesting.
So now that you've shown us that you have this ability to see things, to have a good bead on things, okay? To me, that shows that there is some sort of power there, that you are in tune with, call it the galactic pulse, the universal pulse, which is
spooky action at a distance.
Well, you know,
Energies.
divine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's a good one.
So, what do you feel is one of the responsibilities that you have?
Oh, damn
Okay.
good question.
Because there is the left-hand path,
Mm-hmm.
then there's the other path.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's the path of light, there's a path of dark.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in the threefold law? Or is that kind of a gray area? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, I do. That is one of the things I accept, the law of the threefold, where, you know, and it's like I said, there is a balance, you know, and if somebody does something to you more than 3 times, yes, there is. It's like that old saying on Verizon where there's an app for that, there's a spell for that, you know, and so it has to do with balance. So with being in that gray area, it's kind of, it's to call it gray, it's kind of like an unemotional place. And if something comes at you more than 3 times, then you go back at that and you deal with that, and then you leave it behind. And that's the unemotional part. You just leave it behind and you deal with it, and then you move forward, and there's balance in your life. And that has to do with the vibrations and the energy that comes at you. And I think, there are, from every part of witchcraft, every type of witchcraft, there are things that I draw from that, including black witchcraft. So there is a balance, and I think even every white witch has a little bit of black witch in her. She really does, because in that balance, there's the threefold law. And so there's things that you have to do to balance it out, just like you would with any belief system. There's a way to deal with each and everything in life. So, it's like for me, I've done a whole variety of magic.
Well, the thought that you said, do it and get it out, and I'm sure you're tired of this story, but Will Rogers, who they did Shrine to the Sun,
Mm-hmm.
it was him and Spencer Penrose and several other famous people had a thing almost like sun worship, but it was cool. He was a nice guy. 2 things he said that stuck in my mind since I was a kid is, one, he said, I never met a man I didn't like. Secondly, is he had a fight with an oil company trying to drill in Alaska, and it turned pretty hot, and he was getting off the plane when he got back, and because the guy said, you're my enemy forever, and Will Rogers like, whatever. He's coming down the plane stairs, and a reporter yelled out, said, do you hate your enemies? And he stopped and said, God, no. I love every one of them. I made them. Mm-hmm. And he went on about his business every time again. And I'm thinking that is so true. It is so true. You get it out. Say, okay, Joe set fire to my shoe or my dog or something. And I can do what's necessary in that situation and then forgive him and say, I don't know why he did it, but out of my life. Mm-hmm. And it's so much better than holding on to it, And you just described it in a different way, but in a perfect way also. Just say it, do it, get it out, and go on about your business.
You leave it behind you.
Mind if I send them a couple photos of like your altar and some of
that's fine.
spells that
How do you do that? I don't know crap about this equipment. How can you do?
And then you can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay. I thought you can like hold it up or something,
No, I'll just send it to your phone and you can add it.
And then I'll to repay you, I'll send you the picture of the trout fishing.
You don't want that. You definitely don't want that.
Ah, come on. Lucky it wasn't a gar or something with our northern pike or something, huh?
Carp.
Oh.
I'll send you one that she sent me on one of the spells that she did. Would you mind if I did that? Like the little dark.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dark or dark acting.
I can, I'll show you. I'll send you.
It's not though. I mean, it looks really horrible, but it's. I mean, when you look at it, you're gonna think of like a horror movie or something.
Oh
but
God!
actually,
It doesn't have a cat getting its head cut
no,
off, does it?
No, I don't do anything like that. But it's the intention that goes in, because like in this spell, they're candles and they have nails in them, but there's intent that went into every candle, and then as the candles burned, and you have the spell infused into it, and you've got the petition paper underneath, which is basically what you're asking for in the spell and what you're letting go of. It's all that anger, and it burns down. There's like this release, and it's like it's done. What's
the most interesting thing you've cast a spell for or wanted or whatever? I mean, like if Mephistopheles sat across the table from us, I would seriously talk about winning the Mega Millions or something like that, because that could buy the studio we want and help us more, and he could buy more and more equipment, and the only thing I have to do is once a year make a sacrifice of a goat or something, I
don't do any sacrifices.
I mean,
but I have done, if your question is, yes, I've done black magic. You know,
Particularly
What was the
I've,
outcome?
black magic.
you know, like if somebody really, just gonna say, if somebody really fucks with you,
Yeah.
it's not like in Christianity where you turn the cheek and forgive them, and so I've done what's considered really a black magic spell. I've done one of these in my whole time as being a witch. It's called a coffin spell, and I've done it, and
Was it successful?
don't know yet.
Oh,
Don't know yet, but
I'm waiting for that, huh?
yeah, see what happens. But
That one was interesting.
So-
but it was someone that had just basically tormented me and fucked with me over and over and over again, and it was called for,
For no reason?
and
People are assholes, that's what.
you know, and so basically, this is the way as a witch you deal with it. You bury it, you put it down, you're done with it, and you walk
away
on.
and never
You
look
don't
back.
look back.
So, are there repercussions for defending yourself?
There's repercussions for spell work if it's not called for, like the law of 3 times 3. If say they really, and I went through this, like I quizzed Mark, I quizzed my family members, I'm like, has this person done enough to me where it does call for this? And I had to be without a reasonable doubt that yes, they had. And so it's not something you mess around with. It's not like you see a lot of people, like for example, I'm on Instagram, and you see them and they watch Harry Potter and they just think they're a witch. It doesn't work like that.
Wow.
You know, they have Harry Potter, they'll put in their Instagram which house they're in. It's not about being in a house. This is about who you are and how you walk out your life and how you deal with the positive and negative.
Well, that's dangerous to do that kind of crap too. If you want to play a game, play a game.
It's not a game.
Right, exactly. It's like Katy Perry's Dark Horse. Have you heard that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to play with magic, blah 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 blah. And that song is a very powerful song.
Repercussions.
Yes. And that song is a beautiful song and it's an interesting song.
Mm-hmm.
But it addresses what you were talking about. You know, you want to play with magic, then stuff's going to happen, and
Yeah.
you're in. You're in.
And you got to make sure, depending on what type of spell, especially if you're going to do a black magic spell, you got to make sure that the person has done enough to deserve whatever it is, you know. And those are not like, it's not a spell like a death spell, but it's a death of what they've been doing to you. The torture needs to stop.
Well, I was taught
Yeah.
by Marty here the Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun effect.
Well, that would be
You do that
effective
and
too,
shoot
you know.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot
But
quicker.
then you pay for that, you know, you pay, you go to jail,
Oh,
you're
no,
done,
no.
you pay.
No.
See, and once again, that's kind of like a universal thing.
Right.
You know, just like in self-defense,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
if it is self-defense, there aren't a whole lot of repercussions other than, you know, you can't take that back.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do something and it isn't called for,
Right.
then yeah,
You're going to pay the price.
exactly.
Yeah. You know, and that's why, like I said, it's not a game, it's not a movie, it's real life. And it's really, you have to have a deep understanding of what spell work is and what witchcraft is and what it is not. And you know, when you're walking in it, you have to, like, I feel like I'm back in college right now because I'm reading, I probably have 20 different books I'm working on right now because I want to learn more about the history and I want to learn more. But I'm also, you know, I feel like because I was a witch when I was, 20, it almost seems like, and Mark has said this, it's like I've learned over this period of time, and so I'm able to delve into this in a more complex way, because at first when I came back to the craft, I was just like, oh, I'm what's called a baby witch. But really, there's knowledge that's in me, and I think it's part of the life that we live and the life that we walk out. And, it depends where you're not the square peg in a round hole. You're the square peg in the square hole. And you fit.
Well, let me ask you this before we go, because it's about time.
Okay.
This is a weird question. Do you believe that you were a witch in a prior life? Do you believe you had a prior life at all?
We've actually talked about that.
Probably was. And I feel like there are ancestors of mine that were witches. I do feel that. Wherever that comes from. But it's not a question I'm going to go home to mom and dad and be like, hey.
I don't have to worry about that. I'm pretty convinced that my mother is the devil. So, I don't need to. I just go, hey, Mom, how's it going? Get a little holy water.
Because my mom says, she has this saying, and she says it all the time. And she says, I was born with a black veil over my eyes.
I've heard that before from other
and
people.
I kept thinking, what does that mean? She says, I can see things that happen before they happen. And I'm thinking, well, that's coming from my mom. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is, very. One of my favorite sayings that I say all the time is, sometimes it is not enough to teach. One must punish as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from Niven, and that, that makes sense. Maybe you taught her a lesson with this, but, then this is going to cause a punishment effect for being such a mean, nasty, derogatory asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's actions for everything. You open it up and say it goes out to the universe. Such a thing as karma.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe.
There is a karma card in this deck too, and the death card did not come up.
Well, I still think I'm on the warrant list for the karma police. At some point they're going to get me.
So before we end the show, I would be doing the show a disservice because so many people, when they hear witchcraft, when they hear Wicca, when they hear spell casting, there are two subjects that always come up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hexing someone and love spells.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Mike and I have had this conversation.
Yep. A
And
lot. It's cool.
I posited the thought that one of the darkest, blackest magics there is a love spell, because you are forcing someone to do something that they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you will love me, you will love me. And this person is just insanely in love, but it's not what they want.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean,
Is it even
'cause
possible?
basically what you're talking about is a manipulation spell.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a form of that. I don't believe in doing, I haven't done a love spell. I already have the love of my life. We've been married.
That I know.
And he says, you can't do any spells on
that
me.
I know.
So I don't. But,
Well, like for
but
others.
like, okay, I believe you do a manipulation spell if it's called for. It's about that balance. But I don't think those would be necessary like all the time, or, I don't believe in making, I guess I want to say making something real that's unreal. I believe there's a balance in nature.
Yeah.
You don't want to just go out and make something that's not really, I want to use the word like divinely going to happen unless it's absolutely necessary. I'm saying like, you've tried 17 other things and then you're like, all right, this person's being really stubborn, and in order for what's right to happen, you may need to do that, but it's in the back of the arsenal.
Well, I have
No.
a list for you then. Just start making those love spells. I do want to ask you a question because before we go again, and I've heard this from other people. I don't know. I'm not involved.
Mm-hmm.
Marty's not involved, so I can't take up arms for or against. But do the practitioners of witchcraft or coven or whatever, do you worship or recognize Satan?
Some people do.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends, like, are you part of Satanistic witchcraft or, it's all about what deity, like, it's kind of like, it's like I talk about the arsenal. Like, if you really want to make something work, you can kind of look up the YouTube research or online and say which deity works well for this spell.
Really? We'll be doing some work
and you
tonight.
look at that and you say, like, do I really want to do that? Do I want to go that far? Do I, and it's really kind of, some witches will use deities which are basically satanic deities, and they'll say, I use whatever it is, Belial, and every spell I do for this, or Ashtaroth, or whatever it is, or, the 1700 list of whoever it is. But what most witches do, I've used a deity specifically for one spell, but mostly what you use are the guardians of earth, air, fire, and water. And white witchcraft basically just calls on the elements and the energies, because those are just as effective in my viewpoint. Because if you're going to call in something negative, there are repercussions to that as well. And so witches have to say, do I want to partner with this deity or this deity, and are they going to wreak havoc on my life? So, it has to be really worth it to someone. Some of them are trained, though, like if you're in the Church of Satan, which they say they don't recognize the devil, but they recognize all these deities, and they partner with them on a regular basis, and then, that can basically wreak hell on their lives, So, and what basically, as I would be doing it a disservice not to say it, like, you have to be really sure of what you're going to partner with to do your spell work, because there can be really negative effects.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Our guest, again, is Kara and Mark. And again, Marty, thank you for going to this, because we use different places for recordings and meetings and stuff. And you always get it right, man. You do a great job. And, other than the fact you tell me if I touch anything, you'll probably have to have it fixed, because I'm a total tech tart. I'll admit it.
I never said that.
No, I think you said to me one time, honestly, I said, well, can I do this and this to help you? And you said it would cost you more money in the long run to fix what I had broken than for you to do it, And I was like, okay. And that's what my daughters say. They tried to teach me how to use my iPhone 8. They both have iPhone 10s. And finally they said, you're a tech tart. You just don't get it, And I'm like, I'm trying, So, yeah, you make it happen. You got all this equipment and stuff, and you're an expert at it. And I thank you so much I still want you to be in front of the camera, and we'll take care of that later. And thanks again, man, for setting this up for tonight.
It's my pleasure.
And, of course, Kara, Mark, please drive safely going back. Me, I'm going to drop some acid and drink some Jack Daniels, and I'm going to hit the highway. By the time we get... it makes the drive so much more fun. Yeah. Put on some Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, Ronnie James Dio. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not like that at all. I do crystal meth. Hey, I just had to say, you'll edit all that out, right?
No.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
It's all in.
No. Okay. Well, thanks again. Enjoyed it. And when we get a more permanent studio and have some nice pictures on the wall and maybe a couple of me just in Speedos like this, come back and do another. That's great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yes. All right, good night if it's night where you're watching this, or good morning, or whatever it is. It's nighttime here and it's late. So, take care.
More weird things from
What the fuck with Dr. Mike and Marty? What'd you say? Did you change it to?
Weird things.
Weird
from Dr.
things
Mike.
from Dr. Mike and Marty. Hey, how the fuck did I know he changed it on me? Okay.
WTF, Dr. Mike and Marty.
Yeah, you embarrassed me, dude. I think I'm blushing. You're giving it a totally innocent name. I'm like, what the fuck with Dr. Mike and Marty? And he's like, no. Wonderful things from.
See? See? Perfect ending for the show.
Yes, you have enlightened me. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.